My name is Ann Armstrong, and this is my management plan for Arrowhead Provincial Park. History and classification. Arrowhead Provincial Park is located in Muskoka, just north of Huntsville, which is within the Great Lakes Forest region and contains natural features of provincial significance. It first opened for camping in 1966, but was not formally established under the Provincial Parks Act until 1971. The park was established to provide high-quality outdoor recreation opportunities in an outstanding natural setting. The park is 1,237 hectares in size and contains two lakes, Mayflower Lake and Arrowhead Lake. Its southern boundary is the north shore of the Big East River, which has its headwaters in Algonquin Park. There are 6 different classifications for provincial parks: natural environment, nature reserve, wilderness, recreation, historical, and waterway. Arrowhead Provincial Park is classified as a natural environment park in recognition of its provincially significant landforms and associated plant communities, as well as its capabilities to provide a diversity of outdoor recreation activities in an attractive natural setting. Geological features. Arrowhead is situated on the southern portion of the Canadian Shield, which is known for its rough terrain, precipitous slopes, thin soils, bedrock outcrops, scattered lakes, poorly drained areas, and beaver ponds. The main tree species that can be found are sugar maple, yellow birch, poplar, beech, white pine, hemlock, balsam fir, and white spruce. So something the park is known for is the Big East River Delta. It's a glacial delta which was formed by the deposit of the sand and gravel flowing from the meltwater of the glacial Lake Algonquin. So it's seen as the Big Bend Lookout, which is in a few pictures from now. This landform supports a complex community of riparian and sand-based vegetation. So the wildlife one would see is common to the wildlife seen in the Algonquin area, as well as to central Ontario. So the most likely to be seen at the park are white-tailed deer, black bears, beavers, raccoons, chipmunks, and squirrels, as well as turtle snakes and many other bird species. There are 2 fishing lakes. Mayflower is fished for rainbow trout, and Arrowhead is fished for smallmouth bass. So here's a picture of a wood turtle, a beaver. This picture was actually taken in the park in the winter. And here's a picture of black bear cubs, and that's probably the most common place that you would see them, up in the tree, as well as most black bears, anyway, that I've seen at the park. So here is the Big Bend Lookout, as I spoke about earlier, with the river delta. So previous land use, according to the Topical Organization of Ontario History, the area that the park sits on now was once part of the Lunt Homestead in around 1870, 1880 to 1920. There's remaining evidence such as foundations, remaining clearings, and early successional growth forests where agricultural fields once existed. Within the park also exist several other significant historical interests, such as Gartshore Homestead site, an abandoned prospector mine, and the site of the root cellar from the oak farm. And here's just a picture of the cemetery that is closed now, but is still considered part of the historical zone. Outdoor recreation. The park has a climate suitable for all year-round recreation, which provides for the 4 seasons. In the summer, the park offers 3 different campgrounds with a combined total of 388 campsites. The park's day-use area provides beach and picnic facilities, while the 14-kilometer hiking trail networks allow visitors to explore the park. There are 2 lakes that offer fishing opportunities, and these waterways can also be used by canoes and kayaks. In the winter, there is currently 23 kilometers of cross-country ski trails and 1.6 kilometers of winter hiking and snowshoe trails. The park also offers opportunity for skating, tobogganing, tubing, and ice fishing, while reliable snowfall provides excellent conditions for winter recreation. This park, Arrowhead, is one of the best and well-known popular traditional winter programs in the provincial park system. So potential recreational conflicts come up when there's multiple users, as well as conflicts between users at the site. For these specific reasons, the park has specific zones developed for specific leisure and recreational activities. Most of the conflict I've seen personally are on the beach front regarding pet-free zones and pet-friendly zones. But by putting up more signage at the entrances to the beach, as well as notifications in the campground pamphlets, the conflicts has been minimized. So here's a picture of a kayak on the beach, a picture of my family actually canoeing down the Big East River, a picture of a child skating in the winter. That's actually my sister's at the campground. This is Stubbs Falls, which is beautiful, and you can actually swim down a portion of the falls here. It's a picture of the campsite, a picture of two people fishing, and a good example of the snowshoe trails. So the management objectives. Arrowhead's Provincial Park's main goal is to provide a variety of outstanding recreational opportunities in a natural environment, and to foster an appreciation of the natural and cultural values of the park. So they do this through the 4 management objectives of protection, heritage appreciation, recreation, and tourism. So these objectives were developed in 1994 through the Statement of Environmental Values under the Environmental Bill of Rights. The primary purpose of the Environmental Bill of Rights is to protect, conserve, and where reasonable, restore the integrity of the environment. Carrying capacity. So the carrying capacity is defined as the maximum level of recreational use in terms of numbers and activities that can be accommodated before irreversible consequences occur. In 2010, Arrowhead Provincial Park had 320 visitors to the park. 25,296 people visited during the day, while 28,189 camped overnight. The occupancy percentage from July to August was 77%. 14,402 people visited the park in the winter seasons. Carrying capacity, again. So key concerns that the park has with regards to social carrying capacity is that the visitors may experience feelings of crowding, especially on the beach, as there's a portion of the beach that is nicer than the rest, and people tend to flock there. Key concerns regarding the ecological carrying capacity is that with all the recreation that occurs at the park, there could be a decline in the quality of the resource, as well as irreversible consequences could occur. So, for example, the trails that are leading to Stubbs Falls, they're eroding on a slope towards a steep incline towards where the falls are, and there's potential for an avalanche. This could cause major problems, as it could harm a visitor, as well as could be very harmful to the area. And here's a picture of the main beach, as I just kind of talked about, and you can see all the crowding down the side and all the canoes. Direct and indirect synergistic impacts. So synergistic is the impact in one area that creates similar change in another area, while direct impacts are the immediate result of an activity, and indirect impacts are the result of a roundabout fashion. Direct impacts include soil erosion and compaction as a result of the number of people using the trails, wildlife disruption and harassment, and introduction of pathogenic species into the water system. Indirect impacts include loss of soil, moisture, and pore space, accelerated erosion, composition change of vegetation and water, and reduced health and increased mortality among wildlife. So management strategy. In the current management plan, it doesn't give specifics to what plan they use, but through the process of elimination, I've identified it to be close to Visitor Activity Management Protocol, otherwise known as VAMP. Regarding the management plan identified by Plummer, I chose Visitor Experience and Resource Protection, otherwise known as VERP, management procedures because I wanted to use what was already in place. Arrowhead Provincial Park expresses its history and culture through the education that they offer at the park, and the park strives to teach each of the visitors something about the park prior to their departure of the park. So I think this kind of just builds on, and they both work together. So the VAMP framework. So Visitor Activity Management Protocol was designed to be integrated into the overall parks planning process within Parks Canada. So it focuses on an activity and makes the connection with the characteristics of those participating, while also addressing the visitor considerations of the park. There's the VAMP, I'll skip that, the frameworks, and there's the other framework, I'll skip. Management procedures. I think that once the park develops some new trails, perhaps some that won't be so mainstream, that this might temporarily slow down some of the problems they're having with erosion on the trails. The park might also improve the conditions of the beach, for starters by outlining a swimming zone that is apart from the water activities, such as canoeing and kayaking, perhaps also widening the beach to accommodate for the number of users, as well as grooming the sands to ensure that the beach stays clean. There should also be lots of signage indicating what zones are used for what, such as water activities, as well as the pet-friendly zones. So, some of the direct impacts are seen in this as the beach modifications, and some of the indirect impacts would be from the education from the signage that should prompt better behaviors and actions for users while in the parks. Management monitoring. Management will be monitored through research of the park as well as by user feedback. Surveys have been found to be a good way to get users to submit information about their experience. If you give visitors a slip upon their entry to the park, when they leave the park, they can simply submit the slip into a drop box that's reachable from their vehicle upon exiting the park. Modifications will be made based on the feedback that the users within the park's capability, of course. Public involvement. Arrowhead has many recreational opportunities for visitors to utilize. It is important for the public to give their feedback so that the park can continue to provide the resources with programs that the users desire. Without public involvement, there would be no way of knowing if the programs that the park is providing are meeting the needs of the users. Most important aspect of the management plan, I think, is the carrying capacity, because it's how we determine how to manage the park based on the number of users and what recreational activities they desire. And these are the resources.